What's up, Archons? I'm Flightless Pheasant, and now that you're here, maybe we can work together to do something about the evil conspiracy that's trying to unleash an eldritch abomination to destroy the world? But before we do, I'm a huge fan of Keyforge, and if you are too, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell, as I'll be bringing you even more lore from Keyforge and the Crucible. Today, I'll be kicking off a series called Adventures on the Crucible, where I walk you through the lore of one of the multiplayer Keyforge adventures. Each of these adventures features a canon event that takes place in the Keyforge lore that players team up to overcome for the betterment of the Crucible. While these adventures are a ton of fun to play, there's often a lot of really interesting lore bits happening in the background, like which characters participated in these events. Sometimes new locations and characters are introduced, and occasionally they even have multiple endings. In this series, we'll take a closer look at these adventures to find the stories behind the adventure, so that we can increase our understanding of the events of this wonderful world that is the Crucible. We're going to start this series off with the very first adventure released by the Fantasy Flight team for the Keyforge Adventure series. This was an adventure called Rise of the Keyraken. In Rise of the Keyraken, the Archons are called upon by the Society of Logic and Reason, a subset of the House of Logos, in order to investigate why one of their undersea facilities has suddenly gone dark. In order to achieve this goal, they're sent with a team of Logos experts on a state-of-the-art ship called the Vortexelion, which will feature in a future adventure as well. After getting under the water and taking a look around, they find that the base is completely destroyed and been left in a state of ruin. Without any other leads to go on, they do a bit of investigation, and Dr. Escatera, who's among the Logos officials that have been sent along with the Vortexelion, takes a look around and determines that this is the work of an ancient beast, the Keyraken, who was sealed by a society long forgotten and has been released. Now, all of the Archons collected together have to race to catch up with the Keyraken before it makes its way to the surface and causes mass destruction all over the Crucible. During the process of this race, the Archons realize that the Keyraken didn't escape on his own, but was in fact intentionally released by an Aquan cult, a subsect of House Unfathomable. This cult is led by Deep Priest Anakava. She doesn't actually get a card in any of the official Keyforge sets, and she didn't get one in Rise of the Keyrakens either, but she does get one in the sequel adventure that's called Abyssal Conspiracy, or at least an evil twin. So we'll put that up so we've got an image of her. She has a number of servants who are helping her out in the cult, but one of them does get a couple of attributions on Rise of the Keyraken flavor text, and that would be Micron, World Ender Zealot, who features in the art of the evil in the ranks, so we'll put that up for him. Together with the other members of the cult, they protect the Keyraken and fight off the forces of the Vortexelion so that the creature can reach the surface and bring about its doomsday goal. Fortunately for the Archons of the Vortexelion, they've brought a number of heroes along with them to help fight off the cult and to defeat the Keyraken. We know several of these heroes from their attributions in the flavor text of the cards for Rise of the Keyraken, and we also know one of the Archons who participated. That would be Imperial Zora, who's quoted on Into the Abyss as having said, "The cult threatens even the most innocent life. We cannot allow that to come to pass." We already know that Dr. Escatera was along as he identified the Keyraken, but he's also quoted on Drag to Your Doom, where he says, "An extra-dimensional digestive system that can transmute the power of amber? Fascinating. I should have put sensors on the crew." In addition, we know Scout Pete is there, as he's quoted on Devour Whole, stating, "Awfully roomy in here." We also see Sir Maros quoted on Emergence, where he says, "Only destroying the beast can stop it now. I wish it were not so." And lastly, we see Senator Brackus quoted on Race to the Surface, where he says, "It's already destroyed the observatory. You don't think Bellatorus Casta is next?" In addition to the mighty heroes from the various houses the Archons have brought along, you shouldn't underestimate the crew of the Vortexellion itself, as they also get a number of quoted attributions on the cards from Rise of the Keyraken. For instance, we know the name of the captain of the Vortexellion, Captain Fermi, as he's quoted on Tenacious Arm, saying, "We're too slow, engage the amber thrusters." We also get the name of his Dive Officer Taro, on Left in Its Wake, where he's quoted as, "I thought we were just going for a scenic dive." And we also get an attribution from a character called Whirlpool Eddie, who I assume is also a crew member on the Vortexellion, on the card Whirlpool Eddie, where he says, "Where are you going? The monster's up there!" With all of their forces gathered together, the Archons still have to actually defeat the Keyraken, who has grown incredibly powerful by feeding on amber during the time he was sealed. After his seal was broken, he released this amber and created waves of energy that pulsed out from him. We can see on some of the card art. He makes his way to the surface, shielding himself with his many arms, all purpose-built for keeping him safe or propelling him towards the surface. It's a neck-and-neck race, and at one point, the Vortexellion is swallowed whole, as we saw in the flavor text of some of the previous cards. But, in spite of all the difficulties, the cult is battered back, the Keyraken defeated, and the Vortexellion safe. At least, for now. This adventure is really interesting, and the cards really do a good job of setting up everything that's going on. I especially like the callouts to major characters that are involved in this particular adventure, and the lore we get on the Vortexellion. We'll get some more details on that in the next adventure, The Abyssal Conspiracy, which focuses much more heavily on the Vortexellion and the cult itself, but this adventure is primarily about the big boy Keyraken. I hope you guys enjoyed spending a little bit of time with me going through everybody who was involved in this event, and going through some of the things we know happened as the event was happening in the Keyforge lore. Come along with me next time and we'll follow this story a little bit further, as we go after the conspiracy responsible for releasing the Keyraken and try to prevent them from opening a number of other seals that are going to cause untold havoc on the Crucible. Until next time, later Archons.